Hey, it's Monique from Reliqa, and you're listening to Metal Empire. No, wait, is it Metal Empire?
Correct.
Yes.
Metal Empire,
Oh
yeah.
my God. I thought I mixed them up. Okay, I got it. I've done this. I swear I've done this before. All right. Hey, it's Monique from Reliqa, and you're listening to Metal Empire on Metal Nation Radio.
Metal Nation Radio. United we rock.
How's it going, cobbers? You listed. Can't get. How's it going, cobbers? You're listening to the Metal Empire interviews here. My name's. It's an Australian name. Australian names. Australian names. My name's Lucas Bailey. And, you're joining me for this. Sorry. I'll put the pop guard back on now and stop eating the microphone. You're listening to Metal Empire interviews here on the internet. I was going to say Metal Nation Radio. That's because I was doing Metal Empire, the radio show today. This is indeed an offshoot, a product of the Metal Nation Radio sonic universe, but it is not a radio show. This episode, I speak to Monique Pym. No O in that, it's just M-Nique Pym, from Reliqa. Not Relique, not Reliqua, not Relique, Reliqa. Okay, apparently some people have difficulty pronouncing that band's name, but as we'll discuss in the interview, as you'll hear momentarily, that's just like idiots. How do you pronounce that? No offense if you pronounce Reliqa not Reliqa, but also offense, because it's clearly meant to be Reliqa. This is a great interview. I really enjoyed talking to Monique Pym. She is a ray of sunshine, as well as that sounds like a patronizing patriarchal thing to say, and I don't mean it in that way whatsoever. It's genuinely like a really happy human being to listen to. I can tell you that because I've just listened to the interview back myself. It's a good 45 minutes of light-hearted chat, but also in one of the world's most charming accents. I adore the Australian accent. It is distilled sunshine turned into a voice. I love it. But also thoughtful as well. Very thoughtful person. We discuss things like she educates me on the difference between prog and progressive, and lots of other interesting things come up in the conversation. Her rapping style being similar to a pop star who I've got a lot of respect for, a lot of time for, and she grew up listening to. And I was when Kesha's second album came out, Warrior, I think I was done. I was done with my masters, and she was in school listening to Kesha. So that really, that is depressing, isn't it? There is an age difference there. Anyway, I'm gonna go and cheer myself up now by indulging in some traditional Australian activities, which all Australians do, which is all of them like drink Fosters. That's the only. They won't drink anything but Foster. That's the only beer they'll drink. Foster. If you go to Australia, you say Australian, what beer do you drink? They'll be like, I drink a Foster's, mate. I drink a Foster's while I'm driving my ute in the outback, while I'm cooking a snag on the barbie, and a couple of shrimps on the barbie to boot. Put them on together, you make a snag and shrimp pie. Listen, where I paint Warhammer now is in the kitchen, okay? and I've been listening back to the radio, to Mixcloud, to the interview with Monique, and my better half has got what used to be my hobby room is now her office because of the lockdown. She works from home, and so I've moved to the kitchen, and it's a cozy little corner, a little alcove where I paint my little sci-fi models, which I will never play a game with again due to lockdown. But luckily, I love painting and modeling. But where I am literally right next to the fridge, and the fridge contains all my many bottles of Pepsi Max flavor, raspberry flavor, ginger flavor, cherry flavor. I've got all the Pepsi Maxes available in the United Kingdom. I don't wish we lived in America. Actually, that looks like a nightmare right now. No offense, but it looks pretty rough over there. I wish we had the choice of what they have in America. Maybe that's the problem. Too much Pepsi Max choices. They got a dozen flavors of cola as well. Coca-Cola. Maybe too much caffeine, lads. Too much caffeine. Like, that we are in Scotland, people get in fights when they drink, and the reason they get in fights when they drink is because they're drinking stuff called Buckfast, right? Which is a tonic wine, but it is a highly caffeinated tonic wine. So it's like, like a Red Bull and Coke. A Red Bull and Coke. Like a Red Bull and vodka. That's how long that I've been. I don't drink anymore. I did a lot of drinking back in the day. Did too much drinking. Had to stop the drinking. That's how long I've been not drinking. I say Red Bull and cola now. People have a Red Bull and vodka, right? Which I drank of, even me in my doldrums, right? That is toxic, isn't it? It's disgusting. Like, it's just chemicals. Just tastes like absolute, like, straight out of some, like, big tap. It's big steel taps that you see in factories connected to enormous, like, bigger than your house tanks of chemicals, right? And like you imagine in the opening scenes of Batman 1989, that kind of factory. In fact, I'm pretty sure in Batman 89, that's what the Joker, Jack Napier, falls into, that transforms him into Batman's arch nemesis. I'm pretty sure it's Red Bull and vodka. Anyway, Buckfast is like, imagine like, not as strong as vodka, but there's more alcohol in it. You only have a little bit of, you have a shot or two of red vodka in your Red Bull, right? This is like drinking, this is fortified wine. So you're drinking a good old goblet of it. And it's, what is it? About 15% wine, maybe more. And it is absolutely jacked full of caffeine. I swear. It craps all over Red Bull when it comes to the caffeine content. And that's why people fight all the time in Scotland. And it's because of the caffeine content. When you get silly with the booze, right, sends you to sleep. It's like a built-in merciful fail-safe mechanism. But in Scotland, with the Buckfast, just keeps you ticking, keeps you rocking. Man and machine, perfect harmony. Like, just bowling for... You feel like throwing punches, mate. You feel like chucking some fists. You can do it. You can do it at twice the rate you used to, because you're full of alcohol, full of caffeine now. And you've got the intention of doing it because you're full of Buckfast, full of that alcohol. Anyway, maybe that's why America's in such a state, because they've got all the cola in the world and they've got delicious whiskey. So possibly... They're trying all these combinations. They're like, Jack Daniels, Jack and Coke, it's a classic. And then they're like, okay, how about Jack and Strawberry Coke? How about that? Oh, we like that. What if we had this Honey Jack Daniels? Honey Jack Daniels and Strawberry Coke. Oh, that's okay. Why don't we mix it up with this Lime Coke? You know, why don't we try whatever I don't know, lavender Jim Beam and petrol flavoured Coca-Cola, which I'm sure they've got over there. That's why. Cut off the caffeine, cut off the lavender Jim Beam, cut off the petrol cola. I think everything might get better in America. I jest, of course. There is some colossal social problems, and it looks like they're on the road to sorting them out, and it just has taken some rebellions to do so. But hey. If that's how things have got to get better, then that's it. Change and improvement can be painful. Just like when your bones grow. It can be painful, not for you, you don't notice it, but your bones, they notice it. I've had a lot of Coca-Cola. I've not had any Coca-Cola, it's Pepsi Max. I won't say that because I'm a voice actor. And I might, as a profession, and I don't want to rule myself out doing adverts for any fizzy drinks brands. But when you make your fizzy drinks purchases, maybe look into the if they invest in any farms and see what the animal welfare standards are in those farms. See if there's any documentaries about it, probably on YouTube. This is this week's interview with Monique Pym. First off, we're going to listen to the latest single. New, I mean, within the last year is new for me. I'm the person who's like going back, who's yesterday, R.I.P. Eddie Van Halen, over the last couple of days was like, oh, Diver Down's a decent album, isn't it? You know, I'm going back to the 70s and 80s, and that to me can be new. So, you know, time is all relative, isn't it? Not really, there are measured units. However, to me, it's relative. The latest single, Mr. Magic, we talk about that quite a bit in the interview, so we're going to rattle on with that first, and then we'll listen to the interview, and I'll see you on the other side of that.
Fear the rising sun, shoot to rise down the barrel of your rose-colored gun just once. I'd love to see you come undone, because the sun's become a mirror and it's over and you won. Take it all from me, I'll stay right where I wanna be. Take it all from me, but I'm where I wanna be. And then it's gone, you got golden shine, you adore digging deeper in your pockets, all the subjects are whole, you start to panic. Finally, I signed up a soul, maybe now you drop a level and you join your speak. For me. no dream. Wanna save me if I see you like yo. A voice so wise, you could speak the truth. So what's it gonna be, gonna be? If we cannot agree in sickness or health, for better or worse. Dear Mr. Magic with your healing hands, I wanna be as far from magic as I fucking can. All that power in one hand, our lives in the other. Which dice to roll tonight, my friend? All you take is yours forever. So buy yourself some time and keep the rest till the end. 'Cause when you're looking skyward while we're going under, the sacrifice is yours to make. If we go together. When we're 6 feet down, you're not the one to be saved. The only place I wanna be. I wanna get inside your head where you are not the king. Forget about illusions, I'm not your devotee. No secrets from your magic man, 'cause I see everything. I got a trick for you, flavor your perilous acts. I want you to disappear at any minor setback. Forget the rules, look who's surely set you free. No secrets from your magic man, 'cause now I see everything.
Hello, you're listening to Metal Empire on Metal Nation Radio. I am your semi-competent, mildly tolerable host, RJ Bailey, and I am absolutely delighted. Hold on, my soldiers. Do not lose your composures. I'm joined by Monique from Reliqa. I should ask, actually, is it Monique or Monique?
You got it the first time. It's Monique, but I suppose it really depends, doesn't it? Also, hello, thank you for having me. But it really depends on the accent. I know that a lot of Americans tend to say Monique.
Yeah.
I actually remember meeting Austin Carlisle originally from Of Mice and Men, bless him. And like, I mean, I was just a crazy fan, and I was so excited. And he said my name. He said, "Oh, Monique, cool name." And I was like, "Oh, you can say my name however you want." But yeah, well, I mean, in Australia here, I guess we'd just call it Monique. Like, there's almost the O doesn't even exist.
Okay, so it's, if I'm writing it down phonetically, it's M N
And
and
yeah,
then the rest of it.
that's correct.
Monique.
But you
Okay,
can just call me Mon if you like.
Mon's a good
I go
name.
by Mon. That's
Listen,
right.
were you always destined to be like a rock star singer with a name like Monique Pym, sorry, because that's a famous person's name right there.
That is so funny and actually really kind of you to say, because I've always thought that I haven't had a name for fame. But I mean, certainly not there yet. I will say we're still, working our way. But no, I've always worried about, like, it's a hard name to say. I mean, I've obviously seen a lot more difficult names to say than mine. It's quite plain, but I'm glad to hear that you think that, because I never really looked at it that way.
It's absolutely a famous person's name, but
Wow.
I think, like, when people give people certain names, like their children names, I think they must know that it must imbue them with some kind of special power. Like Monique Pym, your parents must have gone, right, this person's going to be a singer, we'll give her a singer's name. I often think that about, I hope this doesn't sound misogynist or sexist or whatever, but
Go on.
that's awful, isn't it? It's like when people go, I'm not racist, but
But
but But like, okay, so Megan Fox, her name is
Yeah.
a very sexy name, and she went on to be one of the, voted the most sexiest women in the world. I'm like, they must have known giving a child the name
But
Megan
don't
Fox.
you think? Don't you think the name Megan Fox could be a rock star's name? Like,
You're
imagine
right,
if right
actually.
now you were talking to frontwoman of Reliqa, Megan Fox. I would obviously be way cooler if I had a name like that.
No, Monique
It's all.
Pym's much cooler.
Oh, thank you.
It's
I'm
less of a
very honored.
cartoon character's name.
All right, cool.
Megan
I'm
Fox is
writing
up
that
there
down.
with Megan.
These are all questions I'm going to be relaying to my mum. I hope you know, just to make sure that, just to see her intentions on my name. I'm interested now. I never
Please
really
get
thought about
back to us. Send me a
it. I will.
message on Skype and say
All right,
my mum did indeed have these intentions for
all
her
right. I
daughter.
will. Cool.
So what I want to ask about Relica is, firstly, I personally love relics. Um, I love I love Indiana Jones. I love the Space Marine chapter, the Relictors. Hello, all my fellow nerds out there. Um, where did the name Relica come from, and is it come from a love of relics?
Well, actually, it comes from John Donne poetry. So, do you know the poet John Donne?
I'm aware of him,
I don't.
yes. I don't know his
Yeah,
works.
yeah, John Donne. So no, not so. That's Ted Hughes. Whoops. Anyway, I don't know my poetry very well anymore. But anyway, yeah. So back in high school, because we've obviously been like a band for quite some time now. Back in high school, we were all studying a poetry unit in English, and we were studying John Donne poetry, and one of his poems is called "The Relic," but
Right.
it's actually spelled. And relic, exactly as you're talking about, a historical artifact sort of thing, but it was spelled Relique, and at the time we were still trying to figure out the name for ourselves going forward, and we all saw that one thinking, all right, there's something there. Like, we all really like sort of caught on to the style, to the poem itself as well, and we just played around with it a little bit, and that's what we got.
Nice.
But
I like
we
it.
want to get rid of the U because it would imply a soft Q, which is reliqua, and we weren't too fond of that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it does get mispronounced a fair bit, which is why I'm so stoked that you got it right. Thank you for
How
that.
do you mispronounce that?
Oh, it's either mispronunciation or misspelling. We've had it spelt a number of ways. We've had it pronounced a number of ways. It's almost funny. We have like a list pretty much of all the different ones. My favorite one is Rakila. Yeah.
That's my favorite. That's my new favorite lizard.
Yeah.
Wow. I mean, you can tell the intent when it comes to like heavy metal names. It's rife. Like, part of the point of having a metal band is so you can spell your name incorrectly, whether it's just a
Yeah.
cheeky improper umlaut somewhere, or
That's
a
right.
full-on Y where there should be an I. But no one says Queensrich, or Queensrach. They say
Are you sure about
Queensrÿche.
that? The amount of pronunciations I've heard of Ramstein is quite funny. And that's
Maybe.
me as well. I'm calling it some crazy names.
But people know there's an intent there. No one says Meterhead because there's an umlaut.
I wish they did, to be honest.
That would be fun. I wish he was still alive just so I could interview him and just refer to. I've interviewed Phil Campbell actually, so maybe I'll just refer to it next time I speak to him. I'll just be calling him Phil Campbell. Not Phil Campbell. Is he the dead one? No, he's not the dead one. I'm thinking of Filthy Phil Taylor. Phil Campbell. I'll just be calling him Phil Campbell from Meterhead and see how he gets on with that.
Yeah, I wonder if they've ever gotten it before.
Maybe in the early days, but
It'd be impressive, I reckon. Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be impressive if someone didn't know them and yet had managed to interview them. Someone knew so little about rock and roll and yet managed to interview Motorhead. That would be incredible. So I'm a huge fan of your music. Mostly,
Thank
I
you.
play the stuff with rapping in it. And
Okay.
the rapping is really originally what caught my ear. You gent quite a lot, which I appreciate, but the rapping is absolutely awesome. And
I'm
most of
glad.
my listeners don't get offended by this, but
No, of
most
course
of
not.
my listeners will probably, because of your mute tracks that I play, probably think of you as I'm going to whisper it, a new metal band.
I see it. Yeah, I think
Because
it's. Yeah,
heavy
go on.
metal and rapping. There you
Yeah,
go.
precisely. I don't think that that's an insult by any means. Some of our favorite inspirations come from new metal. You know, even just the big one, Linkin Park. You know, going
I
back to
thought you
hybrid
were going to
theory,
say
things like
Limp
that.
Bizkit then.
Yeah. Yeah, if I was talking about the big one, maybe I should have said that. But no, I'm gonna put Limp Bizkit on the table. No, take it off the table rather. But no, you know, like back to hybrid theory, Meteora days of Linkin Park. Like that's something that we have really admired in creating our music. And I will say, right, so I don't scream. I don't
Mm,
really have harsh vocals in my repertoire as of yet. Like,
mhm.
I'm going to keep working on it, but it's not something that I necessarily have a particular desire to even really achieve. Because I like what we've done. It was sort of a matter of if we'd be creating a sort of heavier song that seemed like it really warranted some heavier vocals, something like screaming or some kind of unclean vocal part. You could either just chuck a bunch of distortion on it and call it a day, or we were thinking, well, like we've got a bunch of influences from outside of like the sort of clean vocal circle that don't necessarily involve screaming. And what's something that every person can do? They can all talk. So if you can talk fast, then you can rap, I suppose. So we did experiment with that a little bit on our very first EP. And it was pretty cool. Like at least it was pretty cool to write, but then we really wanted to like refine that a little bit with Eventide and Mr. Magic. And like I think it's turning out to be sort of a key element of our music, which I reckon we're going to stick to. So I'm glad to hear that you like it. Some people don't, which is fine. And some people think it's really, really cool to have in this sort of progressive style, which is quite cool to know.
Absolutely, yeah. Like I think I was quite surprised as well, talking about a progressive style. Oh, by the way, just to drop in as well, people don't like it. You say that's fine. It's not fine. It's amazing, and everyone should like it. But you say a progressive style. I was quite surprised when I went on your Facebook page. Actually, no, the first thing I saw was you were covered in like prog rock magazine or something recently, and I was
Yeah,
pretty
Prog magazine. Yeah.
yeah, and I was quite surprised because I wouldn't put you down as a prog band initially, because to me a prog band is that classic prog metal sound, like Therion or someone, or even like prog rock. You think of Rush, right? And you don't
Yeah.
sound like that at all. But the more I consider what prog is, because it's not something I've poked around in a lot. I know the big boys of prog rock. I know, I like King Crimson, etc. But like an Emerson, Lake and Palmer, like so old stuff. But
Yeah.
now when I kind of reinterpreted prog with you as the kind of focus of it, I was like, yeah, that is prog, I suppose, in a way. Did you self-define as prog, or is that a label that's been applied to you?
This is actually a really interesting question because initially we didn't call ourselves progressive, or at least put ourselves under the progressive umbrella.
Hmm.
I got to say as well, just as a precursor, I reckon I see two kind of definitions to, and this is going to sound quite silly, I see two definitions to prog and progressive. I
Sure, yeah.
find prog is its own genre. You know
Hmm.
who you're talking about when you're talking about prog, but progressive, I think I see that more in a like defining term rather than a genre term. So
Hmm.
like if you're doing something progressive, you're doing something that's moving things forward, you're doing something maybe a little bit unconventional, things like that. So you could call any genre progressive as long as you're sort of moving forward and doing something a little different, at least I would hope to say. But going back to what you were saying earlier, so we initially called ourselves, I guess we put ourselves under the umbrella of alternative metal, because, you know, it's not quite heavy metal, it's not quite hardcore, it's not quite metalcore, that sort of thing. So alternative metal seemed to fit us, and it still does. And I'm not going to say every song that we do sounds progressive. Maybe one will sound more alternative than the other. But actually, since releasing Mr. Magic, and also since releasing our previous release, Eventide, we've had this term prog or progressive sort of thrust upon us, which is something that we're really starting to embrace as well, because the more we consider our own music from a listener's standpoint, the more we think, all right, yeah, I can see this being a little bit progressive, because it's not, I guess it's not something you necessarily hear every day. And I'm not saying that to be like up my own ass, I swear. I just mean, it's quite hard to put a sticker on it and say, oh yeah, that sounds like this band or something like that. And I'm talking strictly from a listener's perspective, because when I think of us, I know what we sound like. But that's because I'm one of the four brains behind the music. So I see it from a different perspective to people who listen from the outside. And I think it's kind of a really liberating thing to take it from the perspective of someone else and really listen to what they have to say. So if we're hearing progressive, Reliqa, this progressive band, prog band, if we're hearing that, then it's sort of something we started to adopt a little bit more, and we've really started to embrace that, because it's cool to be part of the progressive family, I guess, because there's a really, really dedicated fan base there as well. When people like the progressive music fan base, over here in Australia, we have bands like Ebon Ivory, and we've got Caligula's Horse, bands like that. Voyager, one of my absolute favorites.
Oh man, Voyager's the business.
Know Voyager, right? Aren't
Love
they fantastic?
Voyager.
Yeah. Those guys are so great. And they have this really awesome fan base. They're just so passionate about music, not just the live scene and not just the band in particular, but just they're so open-minded. And to me, progressive means open-minded,
Sure.
and moving forward, sort of thing, like I was saying earlier. So if people are saying that about us, we're going to start embracing it. You know, we've started slowly changing our biographies to the progressive metal band instead of the alt metal band or the new metal band or whatever we're calling ourselves. We're stepping our toes into the progressive genre category sort of thing now, and I think it's suiting us, I reckon.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I totally see what you mean about the two kind of definitions. I have personally been using, so when you were describing it, like progressive as opposed to prog, for me, I'm a Philistine, essentially. I'm just a very enthusiastic fan who's managed to get a radio show. But like,
that's nice.
So like, for me, what you call progressive, I've been calling experimental. So
there you go. I think that those two work in tandem.
Yeah, I think they're probably the same thing, and we've just been approaching exactly the same kind of thing. Like, and obviously, prog, as in prog, not progressive, is experimental. So there's the relationship there as well. So we're both right. Isn't that a lovely resolution?
That is, yeah.
How
I would say experimental definitely works hand in hand with progressive, just at least in my eyes. Not everyone will see it the same way, but that's just the two words prog and progressive have two very different sort of inflections in my eyes.
Absolutely. So, we covered your rapping just there, and how it's an element and part of the progressive aspect of your music. When did you first start wanting to incorporate rap, and have you developed a particular style? Because you've got quite a talky, like a talky kind of way of rapping, in the same way. And I really like this artist's delivery, so it's not a slight, in kind of a Kesha kind of way, which I really like.
Oh gosh.
So
that is so.
Yeah, so did you deliberately cultivate a rapping style? When did you want to start doing rap in your music?
Well, like I said, before with our very first EP, that was when we were really sort of starting to find our footing. We were in high school, so we were hearing a lot of different influences from friends and from each other and different styles, just finding our sort of identity musically. And well, like I said, with the whole writing heavy instrumentals, but without a sort of heavy voice to carry it, we could always go down the sort of alter bridge route and go the real clean Miles Kennedy vocals, which I absolutely adore. And I'm still trying to hone in on that craft. But, or we could incorporate something a little, like something that might fit just the way a screaming vocal sort of would. So that's where the rap came in. And it's very interesting to hear you say that Kesha is something that you think about, because that's never crossed my mind. But that's quite funny, because I was like, I'm talking back in like when I was like 10, 11. I was, super into her. She's awesome. She's badass. So
Yeah.
that's I would consider that a compliment. And now that you've said it, this is something that I'm really starting to think about only just now. Like, yeah, I can definitely see that talk style rap. A lot of people, when they're rapping, they'll have different sort of tones. Like, they might go a little bit deeper than their natural voice, a little bit higher. But yeah, I suppose mine is sort of a halfway between spoken word, but also getting a little bit sort of aggravated in between. Sort of, we've always really admired the theatrical nature that metal can get to. I'm not sure if you're going to know this this artist, but Hungry Lights.
I am not aware of them, but I will check them
Yeah,
out.
fair enough. It's actually he's actually very underground. I'm not too sure exactly like if his music is how he's doing in other parts of the world, but I know Miles, our bassist, he introduced me to Hungry Lights. His name's Justin Bonnets. It's a solo project. And you would not believe the level of theatricality that he brings to his music. He's writing concept albums, and he's basically writing a book surrounding it as well. He's a really interesting dude. Like, I've seen a bunch of live streams with him. Like, he'll do live streams for his audience and things like that. And it's this very particular niche that it really, really inspired the music that I would like to write, and I am writing, and Miles as well, and all of us. Because he's just got this almost operatic theatrical nature about his vocals. And it's very epic, so epic. I've never really been one for pirate metal, epic metal. It's not really in my sort of ground.
Sure.
But his music is just a massive combination of just stuff, jazz, electronic, operatic, theatrical, symphonic metal. Oh, it's beautiful. It's insane. Like, it's really like it's an acquired taste, but it really changed the game for me. And he does that rap as well, so he'll sort of do it in a more like emotive, sort of almost freakish sort of way.
Sure.
And that's something that really inspired me as well for that, bringing that into our music. It just showed me that like there are ways to make your music sort of interesting and deeper without having to have a scream vocalist or something like that.
Absolutely. I mean, it sounds like it's got everything in Hungry Lights music, like literally everything all at once.
Absolutely everything. Yeah.
Do you know Flesh God Apocalypse?
Oh, no, I can't say I do.
Okay, so they're
Should
like
I?
they're like melodic symphonic death metal that incorporate like a lot of opera and a lot of piano and stuff. Like, it's very everything all at once. So it sounds
I'm
like,
writing it down as we speak.
it sounds. I'll send you a link as well later. But and also it's like the most intense music you've ever heard. But when I interviewed the lead singer, he's like the most humble, charming Italian man. Like, it's, talk about that disparity we were riffing on earlier about the singer and the music. He's like the most nice man. When I drop something, he bends down and picks it up for me, and I'm like, no one's ever done that for me. Like, as a singer of a band, they're always just like, this is not slighting them at all, but they've got other, when I speak to like bands like Testament or Anthrax, they've got other things on their mind. But it was like, what a nice fellow, what a touching man. But yeah, that's enough of my fawning over him and his lovely
No, I feel
Italian
like
accent.
when you really figure out like exactly who a person is. They always say like, don't meet your heroes or don't meet your idols, but
Mhm.
like, no, you can meet your idols sometimes. They might turn out to be
Absolutely.
nice. That
The
makes me
one,
so happy. I'm definitely gonna check out their music.
yeah, the ones I've met, the idols I've met, have been absolutely lovely people. So
Oh,
it's fine. Meet
wonderful.
your idols. Um, don't. Oh yeah. Okay. So we were talking about Hungry Lights. We were talking about rapping. I've definitely saved one of his songs, so I can go back to the catalog later.
Oh,
Interesting
I don't
looking
even know
fellow as well on the Google image search. That's it.
Yeah, yeah, he's an interesting dude. Like, I don't even know if you can like listen to one song. I started with his album, The Uriah Scent, and I just worked my way forward from there. Like, that's his first album, and the production quality just gets overwhelmingly better as well. So it's a journey, but I really hope you enjoy it.
Well, I'm going to go on it. I'm going to go on it. I'm going to queue right now. I'm queuing the entire album on Spotify.
Oh, excellent.
So
Beautiful.
I wanted to talk about Mr. Magic. Firstly, how awkward did you feel recording that video in a field with like dancing around there?
Oh my gosh. Well, it was a really fun day. It was a very, very tiring day. But I will just put a precursor out there that Harry, Cangerton Productions we worked with,
Mm.
he made everything so much easier and so much less intimidating than I thought it could be. Because he was just like a dude like us. We were just like laughing the whole day and making jokes. We
Nice.
really hit it off with him, so that was great. But apart from that, it was we needed to obviously find a place that making noise wasn't a problem. So we basically found this little pocket out like off a highway, so it wasn't like our noise didn't really, it blended in with the highway.
Sure.
And it was hot, it was boiling, there were mosquitoes and flies everywhere. I mean, that's Australia for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was boiling. I remember my socks were soaked because I stepped in a puddle like in the morning. So in every single take, my socks are just squelching under my feet. Um, and yeah, it was all shot in one take. So there was no picking and choosing. It was just a matter of, all right, start again, go again,
Mhm.
and we just go the whole way through every single time. But it was choreographed so well, and I'm talking legit choreography, as in I would exit the frame and I'd need to like sprint behind the camera to get out, to make sure I'm staying out of frame
Uh-huh.
while he circles around Brandon, and then Brandon would sprint out of frame, and then we'd both be circling around the camera. It was quite funny. We actually have a few behind the scenes like moments that we're probably going to share on our socials not too long in the future, because like some of it just has to be shared. It's quite funny.
It's a
But
really cool video. Sorry, go on.
no, I'm glad that you think so. Yeah, it was made really well. We knew we wanted to do the sort of one shot idea because we've seen it done a few times, and it was just awesome. It's very clever. So we did it that way, and I think it ended up working out really well because it was our first real really well produced music video. We've done one independently, which was it was basically what you'd expect out of an independent one, which isn't too bad, but not like obviously the first like official production, sort of professional production coming out of us. And I think it went really well. So we're definitely going to work with Harry in the future for sure.
Yeah, it turned out very like it's very impressive. The whole whenever I see the one take thing, which has been done in cinema, etc.,
Yeah.
it's always very impressive, and I think you pulled it off very well. And I because like this is not take this as a compliment, because you don't have the resources of Metallica. I thought you'd like
Preach it.
yeah. I was like, this is remarkable for a band who, I know the kind of budgets that bands of your size and even, of even greater fame than you have to work with. So I
Mhm.
thought it was such an impressive, well done video. I thought it was awesome. So my hat's off to
Thank
all of
you.
you. The performance of all of you guys, plus the cinematography, like you say, the choreography, absolutely brilliant. And I really, I'm going to post it online on my socials, but it is a fantastic video. I've played it a lot as well. The song on my show. It is my favorite song of yours. Before it was Doomed, but
Okay. I was
um,
thinking because you were into the rap sort of style, Doomed would be more down your alley, and I'm
yeah.
glad that you think so.
But Mr. Magic has replaced that. And it's funny that you said you're not like really into the epic stuff. Because Mr. Magic to me he sounds epic. Like
Thank
you've
you.
got the strings on there and it's got that swell as it begins. Like it makes me want to like walk into a room full of bad guys. Like and
Awesome.
and
That's
everyone
exactly what I would hope it would come out of. Thank you. That's great.
and everyone turns around and I'm just like looking at them all and then you start rapping and like there's tension in the air and shit's about to kick off. That's what
It's a
Mr.
massive
Magic
fight
is like.
scene,
Yeah,
and it's all
exactly.
in take too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's the start of the best action film ever, is what I'm saying.
That's
Um,
so great.
but what is Mr. Magic about?
So, I'll give you a little background to when we were writing it. It sort of came about, at least the lyrics from my end. At the time, I'm not sure if you saw on the news, but our country was pretty much on fire.
Yeah.
We were experiencing some really, really dreadful bushfires. I have family and friends who have lost homes. And I mean, we're all recovering now. I can't speak for the rest of the country, of course, but we're doing okay. But basically, it's just when a disaster like that is happening, you really look to those people in power, the people who have the actual power and the platform to navigate their people out of this crisis,
Mm.
and really do it effectively. So essentially, but I noticed that there was a real lack of accountability from our political leaders and just a general umbrella of those in power in our country, that you can obviously apply to a lot of situations outside of Australia, just globally. And essentially it was just, yeah, like, when you've got that power, you need to use it and you need to use it right. So, if you're basically like playing tricks and you're like all smoke and mirrors and it's all about the words and about the appearances and it's not actually what you're doing, then you need to step up and you need to accept accountability. So that'll give you a background for who Mr. Magic is.
Right.
And really, if you're talking about someone who needs to accept accountability, then you could be talking about anyone. You could be talking about, well, for starters, it came from talking to political leaders. But even I sometimes see it from a perspective of talking to myself, like, am I really doing everything that I can, or am I just all for appearances when it comes to the betterment of this planet, of this world, of us spiritually, things like that. So that's why I suppose when we've been talking about the song generally, we're saying you can look as far as heaven or as near as the mirror. So that's who Mr. Magic is, and that's really like what the crux of the song sort of comes down to. And interestingly enough, this is actually I would say the first personal perspective song that we've ever written as a unit. And because previously our lyrics have all been sort of concept based, so not really based on our personal experience, but this time it was personal. So I think it came out all in one go. And it was a bit cathartic, I will say.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm glad you've. It's amazing how expressing yourself through art can like really can really help you out mentally dealing with
Oh,
tragedies like that. It amuses me that you said, I don't know if you heard about this. The entire world was looking at Australia going,
well, exactly. I mean,
Jesus
I
Christ, the
thought it was.
country's on fire.
yeah, I didn't know what it was like from the perspective of people in your country or in other countries. So it's quite interesting to see it. I mean, I'm not sure if the meaning of our song resonates to you or to anybody else, and like everybody can see it in a different way. But I guess, yeah, like if you know what was happening, then surely I think that you can understand where it came from, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It was me. Yeah, I really like the song. I couldn't work it out, to be honest. Um, I just really
Um,
liked it, and I like your lyrical. I just like words for the sake of words, if that makes sense.
no, great. Yeah, absolutely.
Without the meaning, almost like the superficiality of how nicely chosen and placed together the words are and how they flow. So it's nice to have that extra depth and know what it's about as well. And I'm always online for uh, always online. What a lose? What does that mean? I'm always up for more political discussion within heavy metal music. You know, that's a lot of the roots of the metal music we listen to now. If it's not about dragons and fairies, then it's been
Yeah,
about,
great.
then it's been about, social injustices and things. So I'm always up to hear more political content in music. So I'm delighted you're bringing that. Your single is well, it came out May the 1st, so it's it's approaching a month old now.
Yep.
Does this herald a new album coming out?
Um, it's on the table, I will say. But at the moment we're doing a little bit of sort of an experiment, I would say. And we're working on songs individually, just to see how they hold on their own. We're gonna be we're playing it safe. We're gonna be gauging how our audience feels and what they want to see. Like if they want to see an album, if they want to see an EP, or if they just want to see singles for here on out until something more monumental happens and then it's time for an album. Because we've seen a lot of success from a bunch of bands around our level, increasingly bigger than us, I'd say, at least getting there, who are doing what we call playing the single game. So they're releasing singles one by one, really like using those as sort of anchors to like build up their platform and build up their reach, because we are in an age of low attention span, which is that's okay. It's just the progression. We've got streaming services. It's all playlists these days, like you want that one single to chuck into your playlist, and that way you're always getting that sort of that constant listening happening instead of someone needing to sit down and actually listen to an album. I'm saying this now. I'm not too sure how I actually feel about it. I'm still trying to figure it out, but I am really interested in the idea of releasing a few singles and really making people feel comfortable and feel familiar with our niche as it progresses before deciding, yeah, all right, it's time for an album. And when we do, I really want it to hit hard, because I've seen a lot of albums be produced, absolutely phenomenal albums that just don't go anywhere because the attention just doesn't call for it anymore. People
Like
just
what?
want to hear one song.
Like what?
Sorry?
Like what albums?
Oh, I'm not going to mention any.
Oh,
I feel like I would dig myself into a hole that I can't dig myself back
fair
out of
enough.
if I do that. But I'm talking more locally from a more like intimate standpoint, rather than, I'm not talking about any massive albums. Like
Sure.
if it's a massive band like Parkway Drive, their album is going to go crazy whether people like it or not. I'm talking like bands from sort of our perspective. If we
Okay.
were to release an album now, it might go excellently and it might take us to the next level, but it also might only be seen for a month and people love it for a month and then it's gone, and all that time that goes into an album, all that effort. So it's not to say that we're not putting in that same time and effort, because we actually absolutely are, but we want to see what people want to do with our material if it comes out in increments, because it's working. I'm going to just actually mention a band, Red Hook. Have you heard of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Red Hook, they're great friends of ours. They're absolutely awesome, and they're really helping us navigate our way through. They're releasing singles lately, and I know they are working on a larger release, but ever since the beginning of their of their career as a band, they've been releasing singles, and it has worked wonders for them. So, you know, we're using them as sort of guides as well, just to see what we can do with that as a release strategy before we work our way to an album. But in saying that, if we do see a lot of interest in a Reliqa album, then I think we're going to have to deliver.
Yeah, I mean, I'm interested in just more Reliqa content, full stop. I would love an album. I do like hearing an album as a piece, as a whole put together, you know.
Oh yeah.
Um,
I love an album. Like I'm an absolute sucker for an album, but I do also see it from the other perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember a few years ago, will.i.am from the Black Eyed Peas saying they weren't going to release albums anymore. They were just going to release singles. He thought the age of the album was over. So I can totally see that. And that kind of plays into your more progressive, experimental side as well, I suppose. You're willing to take these risks. Well, maybe not a risk. I don't know if it's a risk, but you're willing to kind of explore the release of music that isn't just the bog standard album cycle.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It definitely does. It is a risk, but every choice that you make as a band is a risk, because you're going to find people who are definitely not going to agree with what you do. And you're also going to find people who are like, yes, awesome, this is exactly what I've been looking for. Mm-hmm. So as long as you're staying true to yourself the whole way through, and you're sticking with your guns, and you're doing what you think is right along the way, then I think that there's no harm done, I would say. You know, you've got the people sticking with you who really reflect what you want to do as a band and what you want to represent. So I think it's okay, like, to take a risk every once in a while.
Sure. And I suppose, you know, musically as well, I was going to ask, do you feel, what with the progressive label, that gives you free reign to do whatever you want, because you're then not going to have to fulfill certain genre expectations like people have to when they're forced into the, well, not forced, when they put themselves into something like the pirate metal genre? You know, they've got to do a certain thing on every single song and every single album. Do you feel a freedom?
Short answer, absolutely yes. Long answer, I suppose, yeah. Well, I don't see there being any fun to confining yourself to, this is what we are and this is what we have to be, because people know it and people like it. This is the formula. It's just, if you think of like all the ideas that you could have if you don't confine yourself, then it's like, I don't know, it's just fun, you know? Like, don't take the fun out of music. Make it exactly what you want it to be in whatever crazy wild way you want. And while, again, you may lose some fans because some people are going to say, you know what, this just isn't my thing. Some people are even going to sit back for a while, be like, all right, I don't like this album, but I want to see what they do next time. I'm one of those people. I'll say, you know what, I didn't really dig this album, but next time I reckon it's going to be way better. That sort of thing. It's like, if you stick to the same thing over and over, you might get that sort of, I guess, comfortable reach and that comfortable fan base, I suppose. But I guess, like, there's not a lot, like, speaking from us, there's not a lot of fun in comfort, I suppose.
Yeah.
There's fun in saying, oh, we haven't done that before, or, oh, what if we created a song that was like trap meets metal sort of thing, you know? Like, I'm talking behind the scenes right now. We every now and then we'll just chuck a message in the group chat and say, hey, have we done this before? No? All right, let's give it a go. And I'm not saying that we're like pioneers or anything, because a lot of people have been experimental in the past and I look up to those people. I'm just saying that we're doing it our way, and I think that that's pretty much the only way to do it if you want to, like I said earlier, stay true to yourself and really feel rewarded and fulfilled by the music that you create.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that's I think that's a perfect note to wind down on, I have to say.
Yeah,
I mean, I'll be honest with you. I could chat to you all day long, but I'm aware that this is a radio show, and this has been a 45-minute interview so far.
Oh my God, I'm sorry for your listeners out there. You've had to hear my voice for so long.
Don't be, because I could have cut it off at any point, and I was enjoying it, and it's good content. And frankly, I played a I had a 45-minute interview with the lead singer of Chemists, which are like a doom metal band, and
Awesome.
everyone really enjoyed the super long form of it. So I was like, "Do you want to hear some more really long form interviews?" And they were like, "Yes, please." So I thought, if
Cool.
Monique is up for it, then I'll just keep chatting away for her with her.
Well, I'm
Sorry.
happy to deliver. I'm honoured.
So it's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. Thank you so
Likewise.
much.
Thank you so much for having me.
No, it's
I really
wonderful.
appreciate it.
I've been a fan for a couple of years now, so I'm delighted to finally talk to you.
That's so great to hear.
Cool. Okay. So, like I said, check out the new single. Go and buy their merch. Go to relicastore.com. Go on their Facebook page. You'll find all the links. You'll be able to interact with the band there and check out their awesome music video for Mr. Magic as well. And comment on all their socials as well and tell them whether you want to hear an album, whether you want just more singles, whether you want an EP. Sounds like they're very receptive listeners. So go on there, interact with them. And if you've not heard, well, you've heard these guys before if you've listened to my show. But if you're not au fait with all of their catalogue, get familiar with it because it's awesome. From day one, absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much, Monique.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you. A joy to behold. I think you'll agree. I think you will agree. Cobbers. Now, if you manage to get through my rambling, like 10 plus minute intro, I applaud you. Thank you very much for that. You'll have been rewarded with an excellent interview, entirely to the credit of Monique Pym from Reliqa. Thank you very much, Monique. Also, thank you very much for allowing me to use Reliqa's music in this very podcast. There is some new Reliqa music coming. I don't have insider knowledge, only so far as I like their Facebook page, and I was like, oh, there's a post saying that with it, a mysterious, somewhat ominous picture in it, and you know what that means, don't you? New music video. When a band does that, when they go, something's coming, here's a picture that's evidently just a still image from a video, new music's coming. There's no mystery. We've solved it already before we've even processed what that image is. But that doesn't make it any less delightful when a band that you absolutely adore, like Reliqa, are going to make new music and bring it forth for you. I hope they do an album, as discussed in the interview. I very much hope they do a new album. I love an album. I love it as a piece, an extended piece of music. I love to spend time with it. I like how the choices have been made. I like how they flow. I like the overarching artistry of putting different bits of art into a particular order. I like it when bands do like little in-betweeny bits. All I can think of off the top of my head is like when Megadeth did the track Silent Scorn. I think it's off The World Needs a Hero. Could be wrong. And it was like that, like Spanish trumpet track, which was just, like you wouldn't get that. No, Megadeth are never putting out a Spanish trumpet track. However, when you do an album, it gives you the freedom to put in unusual little things like that. Just slipping in a bit of oddness now and then, just as a nice bridge. I enjoy that. And I think Reliqa, being a progressive band, doing lots of experiments, could come up with some really interesting ways of linking the music, linking the songs through these little interludes. I'll just warn you, I'm not sure how I feel about it when I don't think I'm on board with the whole one long track that a lot of bands do, when one song just segues into another seamlessly, because that makes it a nightmare when you want to listen to your favorite track, and it's quite abrupt, isn't it? It starts with just like it just starts like there's no intro when a song just starts, or it's the tail end of another song. Oh, that's bitter. That leaves a bitter taste in my ears. Should my ears have been given the gift of taste buds that could taste music. So I just warn Reliqa, not sure how I feel about that, but please do an album, because I think you could really do some brilliant stuff with interludes, and I think, you've got very intelligent musicians there. It's not just like head-smashing, bone-brained metal. Not there's a problem with that. God rest in peace. God rest you, Lemmy. Not there's a problem with that. But, I think with the minds available in Reliqa, there could be some really interesting stuff coming out of an album, and I really think they could prod and probe and test the limits of what an album could be. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Metal Empire Interviews. If you like this, if you want to be one of the donors, thank you very much as well to the donors on Ko-fi. You're absolute champions. You know who you are. Brew from Downu, Guardian of the Ancient Rock, Pringle, thank you so much for allowing me to buy the new microphone. You can add a little throw a few shekels my way, should you so wish. ko-fi.com/Metal Empire. That's ko-fi.com/Metal Empire. Just do it. There's a link. There's a link in the show notes. Twitter, if you want to get me on Twitter, tell me to stop doing such long intros. Outro's not really a problem. You can just stop this. You can stop it right now. But if you want to get me on Twitter, tell me to stop doing such long intros. Stop drinking so much Pepsi Cola before a show begins and then just going off on one like a race car that's been bred with a mouth. Then please do. Also, tell me who you want to interview, who you want me to interview next. We've got a few great ones lined up. I'm going to be releasing the interview I did with Phil Pendergast of Chemist. It was mentioned in this interview, but chronologically took place first. He and that interview was kind of the impetus for the big, long Fatrick Bumbatrick interviews. So, but I'm just putting them out how I feel. I don't know. There's very little rhyme or reason to anything I do. So don't expect me for there to be a reason to have put this out chronologically. If there's a release coming out, I'll bop you out some Unleash the Archers. I'll bop you out some Amaranth. Otherwise, though, it's just rolling one of my... Literally got some dice in it. Rolling some of my Necron-themed dice. And seeing what the results are. Ascribing a different artist to one of the 6 sides of a dice. Rolling the dice, we'll see what we got. That's essentially it. All right. If you... Also, don't tweet me with, Guns N' Roses. I would love to, believe me, nothing would please me more to sit down with Axl Rose. Nothing would please me more. Not only is he, an extremely important artistic influence on my life, and Guns N' Roses in general, if there was no Guns N' Roses, there'd be no Metal Empire, no Metal Empire interviews, no several years of the show I did before that on a different radio station. None of that. And now he just basically tweets abuse at Donald Trump, which I think is wonderful. But I can't get hold of them. Tell me if you want me to interview someone in particular, and I will see about it. We'll see what we can do. People I've interviewed in the past, but I don't have the interviews for anymore, are because they're a different radio station. Were Anthrax. I've got an interview with Testament coming up. Sabaton. They're pretty big names. So feel free. You don't have to hold back. I do have access to these people, but I'm not getting Dave Mustaine. Love it. I would love it. I'm not getting James Hetfield. I'm certainly not getting them to sit down together. That would be historic. But do tweet me what what bands you want me to shoot something like RJ. Here, give this. But if you've got a band that feels, it's a bit. I'm not saying if you're in the band, ask me to interview you. I'm immediately suspicious of that. But if you know of a band that you think is great, send me some of their songs and say, "Hey, mate, all right, Cobber, I want you to." Depends where you're from. You might be from South Africa, actually. Hey, listen, bro. I want you to listen to this band. I think they're really good. Really lekker, and I want you to give them a listen, see what you like. And if you like them, maybe give them an interview, eh? So I can do that, just let me know if you've got a band that thinks, you think needs more exposure, if they're absolutely banging. All right. It's been a pleasure. I'll stop drinking Pepsi Max now. If you want to listen to the live show, Metal Empire, with all loads of other great music on there and just even more extraneous garbage. I don't talk for 10 minutes straight because I'm beholden to play music, and I've only got a very limited supply of music that I have the rights to play on this particular platform that is podcast. But I can play whatever I want on the live show on Metal Nation Radio. Metal Empire is broadcast Wednesdays, 1 o'clock GMT, 8 o'clock Eastern Time. That's American Eastern Time. 2 in the afternoon, Central European Time. And we're repeated on Saturdays at 11 p.m. GMT, 6 p.m. ET, Eastern Time, not the alien, and midnight CET, Central European Time. All right. I'm going to leave you with another song I talked about during the interview. Was my favourite. Mr. Magic's now my favourite, but this was my favourite. And I'll tell you what, I like Mr. Magic so much. That's a great compliment to this next track. This is Reliqa. It's redundant me saying that. Of course it's Reliqa with Doomed. See you on the Flippy Dippy.
There's something happening here. It's beginning to look a little familiar. I can't second guess, so stop panicking. Face to face, and I can't clear my mind. Blinded by the violence. Time's a ticking until we take our positions. Caught up in denial, still in cycle. Don't you slay. If I survive, then I would be alright with the devil inside my head. If I swallow a break, it's freezing goodbye. Tell me, is it better to breathe instead? If you'd only show me, and survival, watch me.